Hi guys, so I'm back with another story. Today we're going to go with one from the Big Storybook for Children. This is another one that has been with me for a long time, since I was a little girl, so goodness, quite many years. But there are a lot of great stories in here that were my favorites. The one I'm going to read today is called How the Sea Became Salt. And I'm going to read this one particularly because it's springtime, and that's when back home, you can really smell the salt air from the ocean, and I miss that. So I was thinking of that today, and I thought I'd read this one. So here we go. How the Sea Became Salt. Once, long ago, in a small village on the edge of the sea, there lived two brothers. Henry was a wealthy merchant. He lived in a large house and dressed in the very latest fashion. The villagers doffed their hats in respect to him, but secretly, they all thought him a selfish man with a cold heart. But everyone liked his younger brother, John, who was as poor as a church mouse. John scraped a living as best he could for his sweet-faced wife and his happy, laughing children. He had a kind heart and a merry smile. But a kind heart often meant an empty purse, and one Christmas Eve, Martha found that their larder, it's also kind of called pantry, so just so you know, was completely empty. It held not one scrap of food. "'Twill not be so merry a day for us on the morrow," she said to her husband sadly. "Cheer up, wife," replied John. "I will go and ask my brother for some food. He will surely give us something." Let's see the best way. Here we go. But as she watched her husband, Martha's heart was sad, for she knew that Henry's own heart was as hard as the marble statues which graced the garden of his fine house. As John arrived at his brother's house, servants were carrying in trays of food for the festivities. There were delicacies of every kind: plump turkeys and game birds, pies and pastries, rich chocolate cakes, crystallized fruits and jellies, and many bottles of fine wine. John's mouth watered as he watched. Surely his brother could spare just a little of this delicious food. But when he told Henry of his plight, all his brother said was, "Well, you can have that small piece of bacon. It is far too fat for my taste, but it will do very well for you." Trying not to feel too disappointed, John replied cheerfully, "Thank you kindly, Brother Henry. A Merry Christmas to you." And as he set off home, he had the bacon joint under his arm. John decided to walk home through a small wood, hoping to find some mushrooms or truffles there to make the bacon more tasty. But he had not gone far when he met a little old man. "Good evening, friend," said the old man. "Where are you going with that fine piece of bacon?" "Good evening to you, aged sir," replied John politely. "This bacon is to provide my family with a Christmas dinner." "You have a kind face and a heart to match," replied the old man. "Yes, I know all about you, and you deserve a better dinner than boiled bacon on Christmas Day. A little further along this path lies an enchanter's palace. The goblins who work for him love fat bacon. It is their favorite dish. Offer to exchange it for the old spice mill standing in a corner by the door. It is a magic mill. Just say, 'Grind, mill, grind,' and name what you desire, and the mill will pour out anything you ask. To stop the mill, touch it with your ring finger and say, 'Stop, mill,' just like this. 'Stop, mill.' Tell no one of the secret signal, and fortune will be yours." Thanking the old man for this wonderful information, John hurried off to find the enchanter's palace. Just as the old man had foretold, the enchanter's goblins begged John to sell them the bacon. They offered him gold and silver, but, remembering the old man's advice, John insisted on the old spice mill. At last, very reluctantly, the goblins handed it over, and John rushed home with it. Martha was very disappointed when she saw he was carrying no food, but as John put the mill on the table, she watched in astonishment as he said, "Grind, mill, grind, a Christmas fare for my family." As John turned the handle of the mill, out poured all kinds of delicious food and, as extra special presents for the children, large boxes of chocolates wrapped in silver paper. "Here is food fit for a prince, nay, for a king," shouted John, and he told Martha all about his meeting with the old man in the woods. "But we must tell no one of this, or they will try to steal the mill," he warned. After a really happy Christmas, John decided to share his good fortune with his friends, and he invited them all and his brother Henry to a party. The magic mill provided all the food and wine, and how happy John was to see all his friends enjoying themselves. But Henry was both puzzled and annoyed at his brother's good fortune, and he demanded to know how it had all come about. John told his brother about the wonderful exchange he had made with the goblins. "That mill should be mine," shouted Henry. "I gave you the bacon." On and on he raged about the mill until finally, unable to stand his brother's anger any longer, John handed over the mill. Martha watched in dismay as John told Henry how to use it, but a little smile played around her lips as she suddenly realized that although John had told Henry how to start the mill, he had not told his brother that it would not stop unless the secret signal was used. Henry left the party immediately, and he could scarcely wait to get home. "I will use the mill first thing in the morning," he murmured to himself as he spent a sleepless night trying to decide what to ask for first. At the first rays of dawn, he got up, and feeling rather hungry, he decided to get the mill to make his breakfast. "I want porridge, lots of it, with gallons of thick cream. Grind, mill, grind," he cried, turning the handle eagerly. At once the mill began to turn out smooth porridge into the large dish which Henry held out. As the bowl filled up, cream began to pour on top of the porridge. "You can stop now, mill," cried Henry. But the mill kept on pouring out porridge and cream. It trickled over the fine furniture and carpets until Henry was knee-deep in a big, sticky mess of porridge. He struggled to the door with the mill in his hand and rushed over to his brother's house. "Take back your mill before we are all drowned in a sea of porridge," he cried, pushing the mill into John's hands. Oh, how John and Martha laughed. Now that he had his mill back safely again, John used it wisely and well. He asked the magic mill to grind him silver and gold, some of which he used himself, and some he gave away to the poor and needy. He made sure that he had enough money to live well for the rest of his life, and of course, he had the best stocked larder in the village. In time, happy and contented with his lot in life, John became rather careless in keeping his mill safely locked away. That is the reason that a cunning sea captain, whose ship had put in at the harbor, found it quite easy to steal the mill late one night and sail away from the shore before the loss was discovered. Martha was very distressed, but John just laughed. "We have more than enough for our needs, my love," he chuckled. "And remember what happened when Brother Henry had the mill? The bold sea captain does not know how to stop the mill either. I wonder what he will grind." On his way to a foreign land where salt was highly prized, the captain decided to fill his ship with this valuable cargo. "Grind, mill, grind, fill my ship with salt," he ordered as he turned the handle of the mill. Soon, the hold and all the space on the deck was filled with salt. The ship began to creak and groan under the weight of the salt. "Stop, stop," shouted the captain, but the mill ground on. It ground on and on until the ship's timbers broke under the weight of the salt, and it sank to the bottom of the sea. The greedy captain and his crew were lucky enough to be picked up by another passing ship, but the mill disappeared beneath the waves, still grinding away. No one bothered to stop it. The fishes and dolphins barely gave it a glance, so there it stays at the bottom of the sea, grinding salt day after day, year after year. And that is the reason why, summer or winter, autumn or spring, the taste of the sea is always salty. Now, I'm not sure if that's really the reason the taste of the sea is always salty, but it makes a good story. Bye, guys.